Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ryan Klumpner, Vice Chair of the San Diego Housing Commission Board of Commissioners. The time is 9:06 a.m. on November 22nd, 2024. I'm calling to order today's regular meeting of the board. We're meeting in person this morning with commissioners, staff, and members of the public in attendance. We have a quorum with 2, 4, 5 commissioners present. Video of today's meeting is also being streamed live online. The link to watch today's meeting is on the Housing Commission's website at sdhc.org. To accommodate additional members of the public who may wish to participate in today's meeting, we have set up an overflow room down the hall. The live streaming video of today's meeting will be shown in the overflow room. Speaker slips are available in the overflow room for members of the public who wish to provide comments to the board today. Our staff will bring those speaker slips to me here in the boardroom. At the appropriate time, our staff will also escort speakers from the overflow room to make sure that they are able to provide their comments to the board in person today. Members of the public here in the boardroom or in the overflow room who wish to provide comment to the board will need to complete a speaker slip. In the boardroom, please submit your speaker slip to our Vice President of Communications, Scott Marshall, who is standing on the side of the boardroom. In the overflow room, please submit your speaker slips to Communications and Government Relations staff in the room. In a moment, I will be proposing that agenda items 100, 101, and 103 be placed on a consent agenda for today's meeting. We will also be adjusting the order in which items are heard this morning. Item 102 will be presented as the last item today. Members of the public who may provide comments about the items on the consent agenda by submitting a speaker request form for that item before the board considers the consent agenda. To speak in favor of any item on today's agenda, please submit the gold-colored form. To speak in opposition to any agenda item, please submit the pink-colored form. Those who wish to address the board about a topic that is not on the agenda should fill out a white speaker slip form. Members of the public will have 3 minutes each to provide their comments about agenda items or non-agenda public comment. However, if a large number of people wish to provide non-agenda public comments or speak on a single agenda item, comments will be limited to 1 minute each. Collective testimony by those who support or oppose an item shall be limited to no more than 15 minutes total per side. When I call your name, please step to the podium, state your name for the record, and begin making your comments. Now is the time for non-agenda public comments. And we will start with Mahmoud. Thank you. I think so.
Good morning. My name is Mahmoud. I'm a community organizer with a partnership for the advancement of new Americans. I'm here today. PANA is here to express our deep concerns regarding the proposed sale of valuable owned land to developers at significantly undervalued price. Creating affordable housing for those who need it most is a matter of critical concern across all our communities. Your staff sought community input solely from the Peninsula Community Planning Board, which did not want any affordable housing there. They preferred a park. The issue of housing is a concern for everyone. Now you plan to give away this valuable property, which we can never buy back, based on the perception that in 55 years, we will not need any affordable housing. Our community need collective ideas and to come together and talk about the housing affordable housing in our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ozma is next.
Hello, good morning, San Diego Housing Commission, Board of Commissioners. I'd like to start off by thanking President and CEO Lisa Jones and Jeff Davis for keeping us informed of the developments arising from their efforts to negotiate a fair outcome for low, moderate income, and market rate tenants at Mariners Cove. Both rent-restricted and Section 8 voucher tenants continue to be deeply concerned about Blackstone's plans for this site, whether it involves renovation or redevelopment. They are aware that the loss of residents at Mariners Cove, regardless of whether temporary or permanent, would undoubtedly result in homelessness for most of them. Both Aimco and Blackstone have ignored the requests of tenants and the urging of the Housing Commission to establish a liaison to communicate with tenants. Therefore, we're depending on the San Diego Housing Commission staff to keep us informed. Tenants at Mariners Cove have reported substantial rent increases. In Section 8 voucher apartments, we're asking the San Diego Housing Commission to clarify whether the rent increases for project-based voucher units were approved by HUD, and whether the rent increases for those tenants will result in hikes in their portion of their rent, or will they be absorbed by the current payment standards. We want to remind the San Diego Housing Commission that in the past, its review of rent increases for compliance with the tenant protection laws has not been vigorous. We ask that Commission to review any rent increases for tenants whose units are not covered by HUD regulations, but still fall under the tenant protection laws. This includes tenants renting market rate apartments through the Housing Choice vouchers. So I'd like to thank you for your time and consideration today.
Thank you very much. Joy.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Joyce Inyata, Joyce Inyata, District 3. I have a few notes, but basically I'm just I need to speak from my heart and spontaneously on these two items because I love these two items. First of all, it's going to be about the dynamic duo of Wendy and Nader, and they're right back there, and they are absolutely fabulous. They were at Land Use and Housing yesterday, and they presented the draft of our preservation ordinance. And wow, have they done the work, and of course the rest of the team too. So I love them so much for their dedication to preservation. You know that my 3 Ps are preservation, prevention, and powering. And so it's just great work. I am learning something new from the process, and it's been challenging for me, working with drafts, following them through and how they can change on a dime. So that's been a little bit challenging for me, but I'm learning. And so please, everybody, I know you've got our backs on this. Keep working really hard and work with the council too in any way you can to network on this this great big project that we're just loving. We're going to go all the way to the end, aren't we, Wendy and Nader? Okay, CEO Lisa Jones. I was not so keen about the vision statement on the strategic plan, and I think you were the one who put that together with the help of others, I'm sure. But I'm on board now. I love it. I have fallen in love with it. I wanted it to be more aspirational, but no. It's really great just the way it is. And I've always loved the mission statement. And now I know about the purpose, and all of that is so, so good. So maybe when you do your comments, CEO Jones, you could mention the strategic plan because, you know, it ends this year. And so, but I know we're gonna go into next year with it. So great, keep the work going on that. And I think that's it. I probably ran over. I hope not. Anyway, thank you. I'm looking forward to the meeting and love to all.
Thank you, Joy. Daniel. Daniel Bryant.
Morning. All right, I'm here today as my neighbor harassment, and this has been going on for like years on end. And I've been here past couple of times, and nothing has been getting done. And it's like what I technically said, everything. Now, this neighbor of ours has given us 3 violations for the lies that they have said, and also restraining orders. My mom has more proof, and this lady is keep harassing us and wanting to try to follow us. And security named Derek, security at the 5400 Kearney Mesa Road, he's been like doing wrong to other people. There's been video that we heard from other tenants that have video that seen the security been sitting down using drugs and not doing his job. And we've been hearing from other tenants that security has been doing other people wrong as well. And this has been going on last month or so, or 3. And I don't know what to do or where to go and how to resolve this, except for bring it to you guys' attention. Because like I said, past couple of times I've been here, the neighbor, like I said, still up to her shenanigans and causing us even more problems, fouling me and my mom. And it, like, you can just put your mind to the imagine of that this lady's been doing. She kicked her own door in. She's fighting with the elderly, the more elderly, like the older aging people, where like they're in walkers and stuff. And she's been throwing, or the tenant's been like throwing things at the elderly, and the elderly got kicked out when she was technically doing nothing about it. And this is like 3 times that she has fought with the specific tenant, and she's been fighting with a bunch of other people as well. Now, we heard around from other tenants that she's telling, well, how come nobody likes me and all this other stuff, when we have hard concrete evidence of that this lady has causing a lot of problems and admitting that she's a drug user. Blatantly says yes, she is, or the tenant is saying she is or is. So, and I don't know where to go, what to do. We talked to Susie and Emmanuel and stuff. We sent a couple of emails, Emmanuel, and we haven't heard nothing back. So, and we don't know what's going on. They've been kicking people out left and right and giving them violations a lot of tenants. So,
Thank you. Our next speaker is Beverly.
yes, that's my mother, and here she is.
Good morning. And I'm having the same issue, just like what my son was explaining to you. The girl had been harassing me. Like on the 6th, I had a doctor's appointment. I went to DAV. By the time I got back to the bus stop, the girl is pulling in the bank parking lot with the daughter, 7 years old, according to what she says she is, hanging out the window going, ah, at me. Me and my son were getting ready to leave a couple of nights ago. He was on the phone, so we pulled into the gas station because he didn't want to drive while he was on the phone. Well, we seen her pull in the complex and then pull back out, come into the gas station. And it's like, this girl will not leave me alone. And now she's wanting to press harassment charges on me based on a bunch of lies. I had her arrested on the 15th over her cursing at me, accusing me of having sexual act with my son. And that's not the first time she has said this, but I thought, you know what? I'm not going to hear this anymore. That's why I called the police and had her arrested, because I have a restraining order on her. Well, now the manager is telling me that the police went into the office and told them that I said that she come to my front door. I don't recall telling the police that she come to my front door. It's just, I'm not going to tolerate this girl cursing at me. She's like a loose cannon already. I'm not going to tolerate this person cursing at me and accusing me sexual with my son. Come on. And then wanting to call me a 75-year-old woman. I'm not even 75. You know? I mean, I'm only 69 years old. I mean, of course you don't know how old I am, but, enough's enough.
Doing all this in front of her child as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. She acts like a fool in front of her own child. And I'm just tired of it. I'm on heart medication. Ever since my knee injury, I found out that I've got heart problems. I'm on heart medication right now. Matter of fact, my doctor had to change my medicine because I had a bad reaction. And I feel like I'm still having a reaction because I get the shakes a little bit from this new medicine. Oh, but enough's enough. I go in and try and talk to the manager. They don't want to, they want to say what they want to say, but they don't want to listen to what I get to say. Let's try and figure this still, what's going on and do something about it. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of it. I live in my house peaceful and quiet as I can. I don't bother anybody. I can go outside and have a cigarette. One day she pulls up and I'm talking to somebody. What are you doing talking to that old bitch? Oh, she's trying to have my child taken away. Oh, and then later on that day, too, she comes out with the dog. She telling the dog, go bite that bitch.
Thank you, Beverly. I think we have somebody in the back who's ready to meet with you and Daniel.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Next, I will ask if any commissioners would like to make any comments. Commissioner Jack.
I'd like to see get a follow-up from her questions and what she's reporting. It seems like this issue's been going on for a while. I know they've been in here a couple times, and I think we need to take further action on that.
Yes, we have our Senior Vice President of Asset Management and Property Management, Beto Juarez, meeting with the family right now. And one of the things that can be challenging is that as we've come out of COVID, evictions take a long time. If they're eviction, and I'm just saying in general, and we also cannot share when action is being taken. So it can very much feel sometimes to families like we aren't doing anything, but it's also sometimes because we cannot share what actions are happening. But Beto is meeting with them now because I'm obviously we are concerned about what they're experiencing. Thank you, Commissioner.
Any other commissioner comments? If not, we are ready for Casey's report. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. So in the month of October, the Coordinated Shelter Intake Program received 2,003 referrals for shelter. We were able to accommodate 299, or 15% of all referrals. The number one reason they were not completed was because there was no male top bunk, and the number two is that there was no male bottom, so we just don't have enough beds. Year to date, we have received 8,184 referrals for shelter. 1,063, or 13%, have been completed. And again, number one and two reasons are no male top and no male bottom bunks. And I also wanted to just give a brief update on the inclement weather shelter, just because we just started it. On November 1st, we've already had 4 activations because of the low temps, and we've served 251 individuals. And generally, we see a slow start in November, but surprisingly, we're already the last. When was the 20th? 2 days ago, with 73% utilization, which is a lot higher. Usually we're very low in November, so that's what I got.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions? No? Great. Thank you, Casey. Next is the report from the President and CEO. Thank you, Lisa, whenever you're ready.
Excuse me. Good morning, Commissioners. I have quite a bit to get through this morning. Lot to share. We are continuing to work closely with the city's Homelessness Strategies and Solutions Department on the short-term action plan on homelessness that the City Council approved on October 1st. The first of the collaborative initiatives under the action plan launched November 1st. Diversion across the shelter system, this new initiative across the shelter system increases diversion resources and focuses resources on connecting current shelter participants to longer-term housing. As shelter participants are more quickly connected with alternative housing resources, they will be able to leave the shelters more quickly, hopefully freeing up beds to serve others experiencing homelessness and address some of the challenges around coordinated intake and the lack of beds. We are collaborating with the Regional Task Force on Homelessness for this diversion effort, which we hope will support up to 150 shelter residents in transitioning to alternative housing over the next several months. It takes a few months for diversion efforts to get going. There's a lot of case conferencing and assessment involved, so we expect to have more data over the coming months as we go into January. We have also been working on plans that will be presented to you as 3 action items later this morning that would make 263 additional shelter beds available. Together, the city's Homeless Strategies and Solutions Department and the Housing Commission have been very focused on centering the voices of lived and living experience in our efforts so that we can bring forward shelter solutions that are person-centered and can best address undermet needs as we collectively continue to develop new sheltering options. Today, we will be recommending that you authorize us to execute agreements with program operators to provide these additional 263 beds starting as early as December 1st. 170 of these beds will be at the campus of Veterans Village of San Diego, or VVSD. If approved, the Housing Commission will contract with VVSD to operate 40 beds for veterans experiencing homelessness. It has been a number of years before we have beds dedicated to veterans, so it's wonderful to institute these 40 beds, and especially at a campus that has a lot of veteran services available. We would also enter into a license agreement and memorandum of understanding for 130 beds at VVSD's campus, which Father Joe's Villages will operate to provide shelter for single adults and seniors age 55 and older. The beds at VVSD's campus will include congregate, semi-congregate, and non-congregate options, so options to meet unique needs. And the individuals who stay in these shelter beds will have access to the variety of amenities available on the VVSD campus, of which there are many. An additional 56 beds will become available at the Alcohol Use Disorder Shelter, operated by Turn Behavioral Health Services. This is a collaboration with the County of San Diego, which provides services to participants. And the Alcohol Use Disorder Shelter was previously operated as transitional housing, but it will convert to a shelter program effective January 1st, 2025. This is actually in line with some of the underlying action items of the Community Action Plan, focusing on turning transitional housing into emergency and interim shelter. With your approval, we would also be adding 37 beds to the shelter system through a Housing Commission contract with San Diego Rescue Mission. We are continuing to make intentional and thoughtful efforts to explore and identify additional shelter options to address the city's shelter needs. As I said, this is a collaborative effort, and we worked very closely with the city's Homeless Strategies and Solutions Department, the Regional Task Force on Homelessness, and service providers. I'm very appreciative of the leadership and support of the City Council and the Mayor and his team on this unique effort. We look forward to returning to City Council in December with HSSD to provide a detailed update on our collaborative efforts. And since the board does not have a meeting scheduled in December, we will share that update with you in writing next month as well. I want to take a moment to acknowledge Casey Snell and Jonathan Herrera and their shelter team. This has been a rather Herculean undertaking, and of course, as is always the case when we're working on sheltering options, one done while everybody's running around with their hair on fire, just to be honest. It takes a lot. It takes some really fast work. It takes a lot of sharpening of pencils to make sure that budgets are reasonable, while also making sure that we're providing the services that people need, and we're making sure that when they come into shelter, there's ample reason for them to stay and engage with case managers and staff. So thank you very much. You've done a lot over the last couple of months, and I truly appreciate your dedication. So we're going to move on to our next slide. A comprehensive approach, as you know, a comprehensive approach to addressing homelessness also requires the addition of long-term affordable housing, and our real estate team has been hard at work as well. On October 25th, we commemorated the start of a construction for a hotel conversion that will create 161 affordable housing units with supportive services for people experiencing chronic homelessness. Thank you to Vice Chair Klumpner for his participation in this commemoration a few weeks ago, along with the Council President Shani Lo Rivera, Council Member Stephen Whitburn, Mayor Todd Gloria, and Regional Task Force on Homelessness CEO Tamara Kohler. This is our most recent property purchase with state funding through the Home Key program. The city, county, and regional task force on homelessness also provided funding towards this project. And the Housing Commission committed rental housing vouchers to help residents pay their rent. This rental assistance will help those residents to stabilize in their new homes. The renovations we will be completing at Presidio Palms include the creation of a community room and office spaces, new heating and air conditioning in residential units, new lighting, flooring, doors, and beds, solar energy for the property, interior and exterior paint, security additions, including cameras, and accessibility upgrades for individuals with disabilities in common areas and in several units. We're anticipating that this property, known as Presidio Palms, will be completed and ready for its new residents in about 6 months, which I think is pretty impressive considering the list of upgrades we will be providing. The update Jeff shared with you last month also included that construction had completed on the shores at North Beach, another home key funded property, which previously was known as Abbott Street Apartments. This property provides 13 units for people who experience homelessness and is owned and operated by Wakeland Housing. I'm very pleased to share with you that new residents began moving in on Monday of this week. In 2018, we published a report that identified accessory dwelling units as one of the top 5 main sources of potential additional housing units for the city of San Diego through 2028. Since then, we have taken several steps to assist San Diego homeowners to understand the process related to ADU construction and to finance the development of ADUs as affordable housing. Most recently, we have made 4 sets of ADU architectural plans available to the public. These plans are based on ADUs we built through a pilot program that resulted in a report on lessons learned and key takeaways for San Diego homeowners. The ADU architectural plans aim to expedite the permitting process and reduce pre-construction costs for homeowners, accelerating the opportunity for production of ADUs. The dashboard displayed on this slide shows data about the number and types of requests we have received for these architectural plans since we started making them available only in just recently in July of this year. You can see here that homeowners in Council Districts 4, 9, and 2 have submitted the most requests for these plans to date, and 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom ADUs are the most frequently requested architectural plans so far. Members of the public can request these architectural plans by visiting our website at www.sdhc.org/ADU. For some context about how prolific ADUs have become as a housing solution in San Diego, the city reports that 20% of all homes permitted in 2023 were ADUs. In 2017, only 32 ADU homes were permitted. In 2023, that number had grown to permits for 1,909 ADU homes. Very impressive. Thank you again to our real estate department, division, and teams for their work on that effort. Next, I would like to provide a brief recap of our flood recovery program for displaced residents before sharing plans for a new phase of this effort. Through this program, the Housing Commission has disbursed $4.5 million to provide financial assistance to 313 eligible families who were displaced by the floods. We have committed approximately $275,000 in additional future rental assistance payments on the behalf of participating families. We also contract with the Harvey Family Foundation to assist with restoring homes damaged by the floods. And through that program, 74 units have been assessed and 31 are under contract for restoration assistance. Of those, 11 units have been completed for residents to return to occupy those homes, and 20 are pending completion of rehabilitation. We also provided housing search assistance, sharing 2,144 rental housing leads for families displaced by the floods. After accounting for our remaining funding obligations and commitments, we have determined that we have approximately $900,000 in unused and uncommitted funds from the resources the city allocated for the flood recovery program. In consultation with council offices that represent the districts most impacted by the January floods, we have developed a plan for the use of these remaining funds. The Housing Commission will use these funds to assist families who applied for the flood recovery program but were initially denied for assistance because they were not on the county's list of families who were eligible for and participating in the county's temporary lodging program. We will be able to provide lump sum direct financial assistance of up to $5,500 each for families eligible for this new phase of our program. To be eligible, a family had to have applied for and been initially declined assistance from the previous phase of our flood recovery program. In addition, a family will need to be able to demonstrate that they resided within the city in a physical residential home in one of 7 specific zip codes that the county identified as flood-affected areas at the time of the January 2024 flood. Our staff will reach out to the families who were declined assistance from our program to make them aware of this new phase of assistance and determine their eligibility. This is very much a person-centered approach. Staff will be calling folks directly. They will also use text messaging and email to reach out to folks, but we know that that person-to-person conversation is really important in helping folks that have been really traumatized through this experience to feel safe, to trust that this is a true program for them and that we're there to help them. So I really thank the teams that are really taking those phone calls and making those extra efforts to make sure that people are reached. As we have throughout our flood response and recovery initiatives since January, we will work to disperse this assistance as quickly as possible to these eligible families with the staff we have available and continue to provide updates to this board and city council. Before I move on, I would like to acknowledge and thank Azucena Valladolid, who has just demonstrated tremendous leadership. That's right, Joy, she's amazing. Leadership, fortitude, commitment, long hours, creativity, and really balancing that we are thoughtful of our staff and the extra hours they are putting in, and that we are doing the best we can to deliver the best services to those folks that need it. Thank you so much, Azucena. Your leadership has been incredible. Next, we'll go on to our annual report. Finally, I am very pleased to share that last week we published our fiscal year 2024 annual report on our website at www.sdhc.org. Our communications team, thank you, Scott, thank you, Cece, and all the team has done an incredible job. I have read this back to front several times, and I'm just so impressed with the work they've done this year and how incredible some of the stories are. For the first time in this report, we used a web-based format that facilitates translation of the report into the language the reader chooses and is compatible with an accessibility tool on our website that assists people with disabilities. Thank you, team, to your commitment on diversity, equity, and inclusion and access, and making sure that we're reaching as many people as possible. This was a challenging year for the Housing Commission, but thanks to our staff and each of you and our council members, we were able to make progress on pressing issues and address natural disasters. What is not unique, though, is the resiliency and courage we see in the families we are privileged to work with. Several families we served during fiscal year 2024 shared their stories in our annual report this year. The strength, aspirations, and devotion to loved ones reflected in these experiences is truly inspiring. We are an agency full of mission-driven, compassionate, and dedicated people. And these inspiring stories of resiliency and achievement are why we do what we do. This morning, I'd like to share with you a video of one of these stories. Denise and Damon were one of the households displaced by the catastrophic January floods, and we were able to help them secure a new home.
The Housing Commission, the Red Cross, the county stepped in and helped us. Helped feed us, clothe us. We didn't have nowhere to go. It was really a loss. Well, the day of the rains, of course, we were watching the news and they were showing, and when I just started seeing all the water come in the house, I was kind of there by myself. I didn't know what to do. Water started coming through the roof and rising up in like the den and the patio, and I just remember it being a really dark day. Really dark day.
I made it home to see that our room that we were renting was just, sopping wet. Like it was up to maybe about 2 or 3, inches high.
I seen on the news that they were setting up shelters at Lincoln High School, and then they told us to go to the YMCA or the Lincoln High School, which there the Housing Commission had set up, and they gave us a hotel voucher.
We didn't have where to go until they put us in the hotel, but we lost everything, and so that's a bad feeling. That's a very bad feeling, and I don't ever want to go through that again.
It was hard, but them providing the hotel voucher and continuing funding, and then the Housing Commission contacted us and told us they would call us back, and they called us back. They called us back and gave us an option, a few options, housing options, to try to meet our needs and funding. And we did the lease agreement, and they gave us the keys, and it was just like a sigh of relief, just having somewhere where you have somewhere to sleep at night.
When I heard this apartment was available, I was like, we'll take it. I didn't care where it was, how big it was, how small or whatever. I just wanted to just take advantage of having our own place so we can be on our own and be grown-ups like we've always been.
It's a new building. Our neighbors say it opened in October. It's really friendly. I feel safe. It's really secure. It's nice. I'm really grateful. I'm thankful for them to allow us to move here.
I'm so thankful for where we are right now. I'm happy with what we got. I'm gonna just continue to do everything that I can do to make it better and more comfortable.
I still, to this day, I still haven't really caught my breath all the way. It's still a sigh that every day I'm just so grateful.
Very moving story, but also really.
The Housing Commission,
also really brings home how much people lost and how impactful this is. They didn't just lose homes. They lost history. They lost personal belongings. They lost photographs. They lost generational wealth, some of them, right? It's just, we cannot understate how impactful this has been for those communities that lost so much. And we are very grateful to be a small part of helping them. And we're grateful to this board and to the city council and the mayor's office for making sure that we had the funding available to do that. We know we're not going to be able to reach everybody, but it's nice to be reminded of why we're here. Another thing that our annual report reminds us of is what we can accomplish when working together. I think I probably just said it, but I'm going to say it again. With the leadership and the support of the board, the city council, the mayor, and with the many community partners and outstanding staff, as difficult and challenging as January through, now was, working through this storm response and this sort of unexpected need to respond, we got to work with community-based organizations and with just individual neighbors in a way that is unique and rare. Terribly unfortunate circumstances, but a lot of friendships, a lot of camaraderie, and a lot of shared values and mission. So it was amazing to see how resilient communities are and how incredibly hard and incredibly dedicated these community-based organizations are. We're very grateful for their partnership. So when I look backwards at our year and the annual report and the amazing information and stories that are shared there, to me it provides a foundation to build on, a foundation to continue to have a positive impact on our community and to help make San Diego a diverse, vibrant, and a thriving city for people to call home. And Joy, you asked if I was going to mention the strategic plan, and I am. Can't guarantee the vision will remain the same, might adjust a little bit. I've been listening to you for a year on that one. But as we move forward and when we look to the year ahead, I am very excited to share with all of you and work with all of you and our partners that we will be developing the agency's next 5-year strategic plan. This plan will guide us in our ongoing mission. And I will just take a moment to say, as we get close to, my first year will be in December, And this is where I cried at the Housing Authority, and I guess I'm going to do it again. It was terribly embarrassing. And Brian, if you want any, there's always some here for you too. I couldn't help it. No, I just want to say to our audience here, to our public out there, to all the many staff members that don't even have time in their very busy days to take a moment and watch our board meeting, and to our staff members that have managed to carve that out, I am filled with gratitude and very much continue to be humbled to be the Housing Commission CEO. Thank you for an amazing year. I cannot believe that I get to work for all of you and on your behalf. Normally that would conclude my report, but I'm just going to have to pull myself together. Well, I have one more thing that I would like to share. I'm just going to apologize to Molly Weber in advance. Hey, this is our last board meeting of the year. Molly Weber, our Senior VP of Policy and Land Use, who has been with us for almost 4 years to the day by the time she departs, will be leaving us. It's a horrible loss, but I am very proud to have worked with her for the last 4 years. I'm proud of where she is going. She will become the Chief of Staff for Council President Sean Elo Rivera, which I know she will continue to do the amazing work she has done. She has been with the city for many years. We were very fortunate to have her for these last 4. We are better for the time she has spent with us. I'd like to think we are more mature as an agency. We are more seasoned. We certainly have done amazing work at the state level and at the federal level because of her leadership. And I like to think that I have been a good mentor and friend and supervisor to her. She has been a hell of a mentor to me. And I very much continue to look forward to working with you. I know you're going to do amazing work there, and we will ride your coattails for as long as we can. And I know that as you help lead at City Council and work with what has just one of the best council members we've had the joy to work with, that we're going to continue to do great work together. We will miss you. Congratulations. Yeah. All right, I think I'm done now.
Thank you, Lisa. And for 4 years, Molly, I mean, I can't even begin to express how different this organization is today than it was 4 years ago, and how much of that has been driven by you and Lisa. And as Lisa mentioned, all of the staff who have worked on the flood crisis and every other manner of crisis that this agency deals with on a daily basis. And I really appreciate how much both of you recognize the entire work of the agency, recognize how important the work is, maintain that empathy for the people that we serve, even when, you know, that can be a challenging thing to do every single day. And I think it's going to be an enormous asset for this agency, for Molly to be at the city, because this agency does not operate in a vacuum, as we know. We are so dependent upon our federal, state, and city partners and county. And so I think the more people who have expertise in the work that this agency does, in more of our partners, the better off we all are, and most importantly, the better off all of the people that we serve will be. So thank you both. Next is the approval of the minutes from October 10th, 2024, special meeting of the board. No speaker slips have been submitted regarding the minutes. Do any commissioners have any changes to the minutes, or do we have a motion? We have a motion from Commissioner Jackson. Second from Commissioner Hubbard. All those in favor say aye. I need one more cup of coffee. All those opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. As I said at the start of today's meeting, I'm proposing that the following items I'm proposing the following items for the consent agenda today. Item 101, the 2025 board meeting schedule. Item 101, the authorization to amend the Wells Fargo Foundation grant agreement. Item 103, the fiscal year 2024 annual comprehensive financial report and single audit reports. All of those materials, of course, are available on the website and have been distributed to the commissioners. No speakers, we have one speaker slip on item 103 from Joy.
Can you read the items again? I think you forgot one.
Item 100, the board meeting schedule. Item 101, the authorization, the amendment to the Wells Fargo grant agreement. And item 103, the fiscal year 2024 annual comprehensive financial report.
Thank you.
Was there a change in the agenda too then?
The change in the change is not in the agenda itself. It's in the order we're going to be hearing them. Item 102 will be heard last. Proceed when you're ready, Joy.
Oh, thank you. Joy Sunyata, District 3. I love the acronym ACFR. I don't know why, but I've always loved that. So it's been a busy week. I really didn't have a chance to do my homework too much for today for the rest of the items, but I will be speaking on them. On this one, thank you. 386 pages to take a look at. I looked at about 5 of them last night. So, but one really did stand out to me that I wanted to share with you. And I didn't go deeper. It's probably in there, all that I was looking for. So excuse me on that, but I do want to point it out anyway. And that is that the $69.9 million expense, grant expense, and you know, well, maybe all of you don't know, but City Council sure knows that I love grants. And I'm always tooting my horn on that. So, but I did dividing. I divided the total expenses of 469.2 into 69.9 million, which is the grant expenses, and I came up with 15%. So that seemed high to me, and so I'd really, I'm going to look further into that and find out why that's so expensive for grants. So I think that's it. Thank you for listening and love to all.
Thank you, Joy. It's wonderful to know that somebody out there is opening our 500-page reports, regardless of how far you get through them. Do any commissioners have any changes to the minutes, or do we have a motion?
Motion?
Sorry, to the consent agenda. Yes. Do we have a second? Commissioner Jackson, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Going out of order in my notes here. As I mentioned at the start of today's meeting and a moment ago, we're revising the order of the presentations. We will be hearing items 104, 105, 106, 107 first, then we will return to 102. All of these items are related to homelessness programs and services. We will conclude with item 102, a purchase and sale agreement for the Housing Authority-owned property. We will begin with item 104, the approval of a contract with 211 San Diego to operate the Housing First San Diego hotline. We will take public comments after the staff presentation. Senior Vice President of Homelessness, Housing Innovations, Casey Snell, and Special Programs Manager, Gavin Meager. How do I say it? Maher. Yes. Will be presenting this item. Please begin when you are ready.
Good morning, Commissioners. This morning, we are requesting authorization to contract with 211 San Diego to operate the Housing First San Diego hotline. Housing First San Diego is the Housing Commission's homelessness initiative that launched in November 2014. Housing First San Diego programs serve people who are at risk of becoming homeless or are experiencing homelessness. These programs offer financial and rental assistance as well as case management. Housing First San Diego has expanded over the years as the Housing Commission has added programs as we evaluate and identify unmet needs. Our Homelessness Housing Innovation Operations Department operates 5 direct service programs as part of this initiative. The Housing Instability Prevention Program, or HIP, the Homelessness Prevention Program, the Shelter Diversion Program, the Moving Home Rapid Rehousing Program, and the Landlord Engagement and Assistance Program, or LEAP. The Housing First San Diego hotline launched in 2017. The purpose of the hotline is to create an avenue for people who are experiencing a housing crisis in the city to call and receive information and referrals to help remedy their crisis. The hotline staff focus on having problem-solving conversations with callers to help connect them to housing resources and solutions that will best meet their needs. The Housing First San Diego hotline also serves as a sole referral source for some of the Housing First San Diego programs, including homelessness prevention, shelter diversion, and housing instability prevention program, or HIP. HIP serves households that are experiencing a housing crisis and are at risk of homelessness. The homelessness prevention programs assist households that are at imminent risk of homelessness. Shelter diversion program assists households that are newly homeless and seeking housing. All 3 programs provide financial and rental assistance as well as case management to eligible households. All referrals for these programs come through the Housing First San Diego hotline. These programs combined served close to 600 households in fiscal year 24. 211 San Diego specializes in this type of work. They are the region's source for information and connection to resources. They maintain a database of more than 6,000 services, are available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and help in more than 200 different languages. 211 also maintains a comprehensive database of resources tailored to meet the individual needs of each caller. 211 San Diego has dedicated staff to answer calls coming into the hotline during operating hours. These staff are trained in diversion techniques, are well-versed in the eligibility criteria and program components of SDHC's Housing First San Diego programs, and have comprehensive knowledge of community resources.
The most recent contract with 211 was a 12-month agreement for the period of November 1, 2023 through October 31st, 2024, in an amount not to exceed $242,500. It was awarded to 211 through a non-competitive process in accordance with the Housing Commission's Statement of Procurement Policy Section 9.4. We exercised a 90-day extension to the contract to continue operations until a new contract is executed. The total contract award amount is negotiated each year. However, fiscal year 2025 is the first time the contract cost will exceed $250,000. We are proposing an initial contract term of 7 months from December 1, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. To align the contract renewals with the fiscal year going forward. The cost for this 7-month term will not exceed $177,042. There will be 3 one-year options for renewal. The total compensation for each of the one-year options would be $303,551 per year. The scope of services includes, but is not limited to, provide dedicated staff during business hours and general 211 staff after hours to answer calls 24 hours per day, 365 days per year. Respond to up to 1,800 inbound calls each month. Conduct screenings for Housing First San Diego programs. Complete referrals to Housing First San Diego programs. Make referrals to other community resources and services based on the household's needs. Provide community referrals for households that are not eligible for Housing First San Diego programs. Collect data from landlords interested in notifying the Housing Commission about available housing units and opportunities for collaboration to assist program participants. And provide monthly reports on referral volume and needs. Since the initial contract with 211 San Diego, our Housing First San Diego programs have expanded. In 2017, our contract for our Housing First San Diego hotline included responding to 700 calls per month. This year through September, hotline staff have responded to an average 1,800 calls per month over the course of the contract term. Costs for wages and services have also increased over time. Additionally, as programs have expanded, we have requested more administrative activities such as reporting, training, and data updates from 211 to manage our referrals and produce reports. The most recent budget provided by 211 San Diego more accurately reflects the time and resources directed to the contract. Housing Commission staff recommends that the board take the actions detailed in the staff report and shown on the next two slides. That concludes our presentation. We are available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. No speaker slips have been submitted on item 104, so this concludes the public comment period. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments?
Go ahead.
Commissioner Jackson?
I'm curious as to how many actually people work at 211 privately? Have a number? Because that averages about 60 calls a day.
I believe we have 4 members of staff on the hotline.
On the hotline? Okay.
Yeah.
So they're averaging about 60 calls a day on an average, 1,700 divided by 30. So, yeah, just curious.
Okay, thank you. I listened to my chair. My question for you, and I apologize if this is rudimentary, but I was curious as to what benefits we've realized since we've been using or sponsoring the 211 services for our community members or for our residents in San Diego City versus what we experienced prior.
Well, 211 is really a one-stop shop. So if, it's easier to have one number for them to go to opposed to us paying 4 to 5 staff, which is a little more expensive, to screen and then come at the end of it that they may not be eligible for services and then have to refer them to 211. So it's much more client-focused or better customer service that we sponsor one line that will do it all for them. So oftentimes they don't just need one resource. It might be they need connection to multiple resources so that the agent can help them with all of their needs and then do a lot of that screening and pre-screening on our behalf to make the most proper referrals to our program. So it's very efficient and more timely, I would say, than if we were to do it ourselves.
And then I guess the other question is who had been supporting or helping fund 211 prior to us doing it, 7 months ago?
So to be clear, this is for a dedicated hotline that is our phone number. It's not for the 211 line. We have a hotline that's posted on our website that is a Housing Commission line. Mm-hmm. We've had them managing that since 2017 because it's frankly less expensive to have them manage it than us because we have 24-hour day, 365-day-a-year service, which we could not manage for that type of budget. But also when someone does call that hotline and they are in fact somehow from the county instead or for whatever reason not eligible for the program, they don't just get, I'm sorry, we don't have any services for you. They get, well, let us forward you to one of our 211 representatives, right? And they will work with you on other community resources throughout the city or the county. So it's a more person-centered approach, and frankly, it gives a lot more access than what we had been doing prior to 2017, which was only the hours that we were open. So we've been funding it since 2017, but it's the first time that the contract has gone over $250,000, which would have been a CEO level approval prior to that, and it's basically doubled in usage since we started, which is why it's now over the 250,000 mark.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? No. Good. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The only bad thing about this whole proposal is that everybody doesn't use 211. It's the one thing we as a city and a county have not still been able to accomplish. I mean, it's too bad that no matter what you needed, you couldn't call 211 and they'll do the city, the county, Escondido, Chula Vista, whoever. So I totally support moving this forward. It is the right thing for us to do, but in the long term, we really need one number that services everybody, the city, the county, all of the other, where it'd be a one-stop shop. So I'm really pleased that we're part of it, and they do a great job. I've been to their facility a number of times, and I'm really supportive of the item. I just want it to become bigger and bigger. And I think by us participating, it's helping.
I'm just curious, for 211, when people call, are they calling 211 or the number on the website?
So if they call the number on our website, that goes to staff during the daytime that are 211 staff but are dedicated to that hotline. So they're calling essentially our hotline, but 211 has the staff that are answering the call. When they call 211, they are calling 211 staff. And then we'd only be referred over to the staff that are dedicated to our hotline if that 211 representative thought they were eligible for one of our programs. So it's kind of becomes like this sort of collective, right? There are dedicated staff during the day that are trained specifically on triage for all of our programs, and they answer that hotline, that 619-578 hotline number that is posted on our website. If someone just randomly from the city calls 211 and has the types of needs like prevention or something like that might be eligible for one of our programs, that 211 representative would refer them over to the staff that have the experience triaging for our programs. So it kind of sort of like is leveraging the 211 resources, but only paying specifically for our service and our hotline. Yeah, it's, which is great, but also, yeah, it's complicated. And the triages are not simple. They take quite a bit of time because we have so many different programs now that, that our Housing First San Diego team is running.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? No. I also think this is a great idea. It's kind of incredible that this has all been done below the 250,000 point, and right now we're only really kind of barely above it. I mean, this is highly skilled work on a complex subject matter, and I think 1,800 calls coming in per month. I don't know what we would do without this resource, because so many people have questions, who do I call? And it is kind of a maze to navigate. And so having a single place that people can call. Do we know how many calls get referred from 211 to the hotline versus come directly to the hotline?
We don't have that, but we can definitely work or request that information.
Thank you. I would just be curious, because there's definitely a synergy between the two. And I'd be very interested in how many people are finding our hotline versus 211, because I do think that one of the benefits of this is 211 is such a simple thing for anybody in the community to tell people, call 211. And it's nice to know that we actually have a skilled and trained response behind that, and it's not, a throwaway answer. So thank you. Do we have a motion?
I will move that we approve item
Keely beat you to it.
104. Oh, sorry.
But Commissioner Vasquez is the second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Next is item 105, the approval of a contract with Turn Behavioral Health Services to operate an interim shelter program. We will take public comments after the staff presentation. Senior Vice President Casey Snell and Senior Program Analyst Melissa Colts will present this item. Please begin when you're ready.
Good morning again. As Lisa discussed in her update this morning, we are presenting proposed contracts for your consideration today to add 263 shelter beds to the homelessness response system in the city of San Diego. These proposed contracts are among a package of initiatives we developed in collaboration with the city's Homelessness Strategies and Solutions Department, or HSSD, and the Regional Task Force on Homelessness. HSSD, in collaboration with the Housing Commission, developed a short-term action plan on homelessness to address the projected loss of 614 shelter beds by December 31st, 2024. On October 1st, 2024, the City Council approved the short-term action plan, which set strategies to quickly add shelter beds to the homelessness system. The short-term action plan is informed by stakeholder feedback from people with lived experience, living experience, frontline staff from shelters and outreach, and the leaders of shelter operators. A consistent theme in the feedback was the importance of offering options that include programs directed at special populations or people with special needs, and shelter that offered a variety of settings, including non-congregate. It was also noted that smaller programs are preferred across stakeholder groups, and co-located services are a must. The first of the 3 contracts we are recommending for approval today is an agreement with Turn Behavioral Health Services. We have been in discussions with several partner agencies about the feasibility of expanding shelter beds at current existing sites. Turn expressed interest in supporting these efforts by converting 56 transitional housing beds into shelter beds. This conversion will add the beds to the city's shelter system. Turn has been operating the Serial Inebriate Program, sometimes referred to as SIP, since January 2000. SIP is a collaborative effort between the County of San Diego, City of San Diego, the Housing Commission, local law enforcement, and community agencies to serve adults experiencing homelessness with alcohol use disorders who cycle in and out of detox centers, jails, and emergency rooms. The County of San Diego, through its Behavioral Health Services Department, contracts with Turn to fund SIP's outpatient program. The Housing Commission administers the contract to fund SIP's transitional housing component, which consists of 2 apartment buildings in the Mid-City neighborhood. Each building has 8 units, totaling 56 beds combined. Due to budget constraints and lack of available funding to renegotiate continuing the transitional housing program component of SIP, the Housing Commission entered into the second and final option year with Turn, with a 6-month term ending on December 31st, 2024.
Pursuant to our procurement policy, we use a non-competitive procurement process to procure the operator of the proposed shelter beds. Turn is a nonprofit organization with the experience and unique skill set to provide alcohol use treatment services to adults experiencing homelessness. Turn has a long-standing relationship with the property owner for the 2 residential apartment buildings, which makes Turn the only program operator suitable to run the interim shelter program at its current location. The county's contract with Turn provides outpatient substance use treatment and ancillary services to adults with a primary alcohol use disorder. Services provided under the county's contract includes recovery services specific for alcohol use disorders, intensive case management, counseling, and peer support. The Housing Commission's administered contract will provide funding for shelter operations, which includes fully furnished units with full kitchen and bathrooms, appropriate shelter services, and case management that is focused on obtaining permanent housing. The Housing Commission's Homelessness Housing Innovations Division is facilitating the transition from transitional housing to an interim shelter program model with existing Turn staff. The components of the transition plan are outlined on this slide. The current clients enrolled in the program will continue their stay in the program and will not be affected by the change in the program type. Client intakes into the transitional housing program will be suspended temporarily to allow for the program census to reduce through natural attrition. This transition time will allow for new shelter client enrollments as the transitional housing beds become available beginning in January. The projected 6-month budget for this program totals $374,120, which includes $17,815 in administrative expenses. The annual budget, which would begin in fiscal year 26, totals $748,240, which includes $35,630 in administrative expenses. The operator agreement budget includes costs for a housing-focused case manager position and routine supplies associated with operating a shelter. By leveraging resources and services provided by the county, the interim shelter bed night rate for the Housing Commission administered contract is $35, which is lower than other city shelter programs. The remaining option years will be exercised contingent upon the City of San Diego making funds available for this purpose. Housing Commission staff recommends the Board of Commissioners take the actions detailed in the staff report and shown on the following slides. That concludes our presentation, and we are available to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. We have a speaker slip from Joy.
I'll be fairly quick on these shelter items. Joyce Sunyata, District 3. Of course, a yes on this. You know, it's behavioral health. That's so critical. And finally, we're shining a light on that. I'll give you a little personal comment on that. I have experienced several deaths in the family associated with alcoholism. So it's near and dear to my heart. And I just so glad that we're focusing a light on these issues related to behavioral health. So thank you for the work on this and the presentation, and love to all.
Thank you, Joy. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments? No? Thank you for bringing this forward. One of the things that I very much appreciate about the approach that this agency has taken to the homelessness issue is to constantly reevaluate and look at what we're doing and compare it to what we've learned elsewhere and best practices and how we get the best outcomes. And it seems to me that a lot of the changes that are going to be happening and how these programs are administered are a major step in the right direction. And did I hear it right where this includes non-congregate beds
That's
at $35 a night?
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty incredible, and I can only imagine how much more effective these resources are going to be when people who are in this position have a non-congregate option. It's just, we've seen it over and over that we have better outcomes when we have more and more dignified resources to offer people. So thank you. Do we have a motion from any commissioners? Motion from Commissioner Jackson. Second from Commissioner Hubbard. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. On to item 106, the approval of an agreement with the San Diego Rescue Mission to operate the South County Lighthouse Shelter Program. We will take public comment after staff presentation. Senior Vice President Casey Snell is not going anywhere. Director of Homelessness Housing Innovations, Jonathan Herrera, will present this item.
Good morning again. We are here to present staff's recommendation to approve the fiscal year 25 agreement between the Housing Commission and Veterans Village of San Diego to operate the Veterans Interim Shelter Program, and to authorize the Housing Commission to enter into a license agreement and memorandum of understanding to occupy residential and commercial spaces at the VVSD campus at 4141 Pacific Highway. Oh, sorry, am I on the wrong item? Yeah. Sorry. We are not here for that yet. So right now, we're here to present the staff's recommendation to approve the fiscal year 25 contract between the Commission and the San Diego Rescue Mission to operate the South County Lighthouse Shelter Program. This slide shows information about the short-term action plan on homelessness that we discussed earlier today. The proposed action referenced in this report will allow the Commission to enter into an agreement with San Diego Rescue Mission to contract 37 beds for men at their South County Lighthouse Center and supports the objectives laid out on the short-term action plan. The South County Lighthouse at 2400 Euclid Avenue in National City provides safe, low-barrier congregate shelter resources to single males or non-binary gender people experiencing homelessness in the city of San Diego. The program will add 37 beds to the shelter system. Referrals will be facilitated through the Coordinated Shelter Intake Program, which we administer. The shelter program service model is aligned with Housing First principles. It employs housing-focused case management to support individuals to develop appropriate housing plans and their transition to permanent or other longer-term housing solutions. Program staff coordinates with and provides referrals to appropriate county, state, and federal programs as needed. The program leverages supportive services that are available at the South County Lighthouse Shelter program, as well as mainstream community resources, including employment opportunities, self-sufficiency, and life skill classes. The program model also employs a good neighbor policy, which focuses on engagement with the surrounding community to support clean, safe, and welcoming environment. Basic shelter services will be provided to residents. These include, but are not limited to, appropriate 24-hour residential services and staffing, a minimum of 2 meals per day, but actually they'll have access to 3 per day at this program, showers, restrooms, laundry facilities and services, routine operating supplies, and telephone access and message services and mail services.
The San Diego Rescue Mission has focused on serving San Diegans experiencing homelessness since 1955. The organization provides shelter and other resources to address the city's homeless crisis, which includes emergency shelters, residential programs, children resource centers, hunger relief programs, community outreach, and rehabilitation services. The Rescue Mission has been operating the Lighthouse Shelter Program in National City since it opened on June 19th of this year. The Rescue Mission's model focuses on changing the state of homelessness within San Diego by utilizing an approach that offers a continuum of services to homeless individuals. On June 27, 2024, the Housing Commission issued a request for qualifications, or RFQ, to increase the capacity of the existing shelter system in the city of San Diego. The RFQ was posted and made available for download on the Planet Bids website through the Housing Commission and the City of San Diego's portals. We received qualifications from 5 respondents. A source selection committee evaluated, scored, and ranked the responses based on operator's profile, capacity and readiness, service delivery model, and equity and inclusion. Other respondents deemed qualified, the Rescue Mission proposal was prioritized for implementation based on their ability to secure and provide a site location and ability to rapidly activate additional shelter beds. This slide shows funding for the initial operating term in fiscal year 2025, totaling $571,901, which includes $27,233 in San Diego Housing Commission administrative costs. The annualized operating expense for this contract is $980,403, which includes $46,686 in Housing Commission administrative expense. The funding source for the fiscal year 2025 term is anticipated to be city general funds. Option years will be exercised contingent upon the availability of funding from the City of San Diego for that purpose. Housing Commission staff recommends that the Board of Commissioners take the actions detailed in the staff report and shown on the following slides. That concludes our presentation.
Thank you. We have one speaker slip from Joy.
Chair, I said a minute, but something popped up, and I need to share that with you, so I'll take 2 if that's okay. It's personal. Joyce Sunyata, District 3, my brother. He's not the one that died from what I just spoke about earlier, but when he came home for the Korean War, he had a lot of PTSD. He wasn't wounded with bullets or anything, but he came home really, really messed up. And we thought he was just, he wasn't going to really figure out life. he went to the rescue mission. And they took him under their loving care. And they really, really turned his life around. So I have great, deep love for the rescue mission. And so that just popped up. So I definitely approve this. When I look at that word beds, aren't we glad to have a bed? 37 beds. The fact that someone wouldn't have a bed makes me really appreciate my comfy bed. So thank you for listening. I love the good neighbor policy. Love to all.
Thank you, Joy, for that wonderful perspective. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been to this facility twice. I went down while they were constructing it, and then 3 weeks ago I went down once it was opened. And it is terrific. The folks there were really caring, enthusiastic. You walk in, you feel uplifted. The art, the company that put the whole program together, Ware Malcolm, their architects did a phenomenal job. It's a wonderful place to be, quite frankly. Now, during the day, it's pretty empty because you have people that are working, you have people that are, assimilating themselves back into society, which is really terrific. But they have a wonderful home to come home to at night. And the food looked pretty good. I didn't stay for lunch, but food looked pretty good to me. But it's exactly what we want as we look to what should a shelter of this nature look like. And Donnie D and his staff, I think, have just done, they are the gold standard, I think, for right now. When you go through that facility, you would live there. I mean, it's a nice facility. The atmosphere is nice. The people were nice. And I enthusiastically support this and be happy to move acceptance of the item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have a motion from Commissioner Cushman. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Jackson? Second. Thank you. I appreciate everything that has been said. One other thing that I appreciate about this contract is, municipal boundaries exist more for all of us on the government side than for anybody in the real world. And I think most residents are hard-pressed, especially in the area we're talking about, the boundary with National City. They're hard-pressed to point to where the boundary actually is. And that's among housed residents who live in this area, right? The people who are unhoused, those boundaries mean absolutely nothing to them. And it's a real challenge that, while they may have no idea where the boundary between two cities are, so often that determines what resources they do or don't have access to. It depends upon which side of that invisible line they're on. And we talk a lot about the need for regional collaboration on this issue. And I think that the boundary with National City is a wonderful place for collaboration to occur, because we need resources and solutions for anybody who's experiencing housing instability or homelessness in that area, regardless of, again, which side of that boundary they fall on. So I'm so glad that we did the RFQ. Once again, I really appreciate staff's very proactive approach to putting out competitive processes and creating opportunities for people to respond and fill needs and bring us their best ideas, and have us have a panel confidentially evaluate and compare those options and find out what the best option is. The process that led us to this, I think, was a wonderful process, and I know that didn't fall out of the sky. That was a lot of hard work by Casey and Jonathan and Lisa and Jeff and everybody else who worked on this. We have a motion by Commissioner Cushman, a second by Commissioner Jackson. Everyone in favor say aye.
Mr. Chairman, let me just add to your point.
Yes.
Because I think we get all hung up in these imaginary boundaries. And to someone who is experiencing homelessness, whether they're in Escondido or Chula Vista or El Cajon, I've talked with the mayor of El Cajon. He's happy to work with the city of San Diego when they have beds available. I think hopefully this helps build the regional collaboration. And I think we need to encourage everybody to jump under this umbrella, because that person out there that needs help, they don't know one city from another, nor do they care, nor should they. And so I think you're right. I think this helps set the precedent of where we need to go, and that boundaries should be nothing. A homeless person's a homeless person. If they're unsheltered, they're unsheltered. Doesn't matter where the heck they are. And we need to get over that. So I'm glad you brought that up, and we need to say that to the mayor and council at the same time.
I nominate you to deliver that. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Our next item is 107, the approval of an operating agreement, license agreement and memorandum of understanding with Veterans Village of San Diego to operate shelter beds. We will take public comments after the staff presentation. Senior Vice President Casey Snell and Director Jonathan Herrera will also be presenting this item. Begin when you are ready.
Let's go to the second slide. Hello again. So the proposed actions before you today will allow the Housing Commission to enter into an operating agreement with VVSD to operate a program for 40 veterans and a license agreement and MOU for 130 beds, which Father Joe's Villages will operate as a shelter for single adults and seniors. These actions support the objectives laid out in the short-term action plan discussed previously. The Housing Commission met with VVSD leadership in September 2024 to discuss the possibility of operating underutilized beds on their campus. The result was a proposal to operate 130 beds for shelter through a separate agreement between the Housing Commission and Father Joe's Villages, and to enter into an agreement with VVSD to operate a veteran-specific shelter program with 40 beds. The proposed plan was then presented to leadership at the city, and the city agreed to fund the new programs. Initial enrollments to the program will be offered to veterans and other city shelters who may prefer to be with other veterans. The Veterans Interim Shelter Program will provide a minimum of 40 beds in a semi-congregate shelter setting for veterans experiencing unsheltered homelessness in the city. The program will be at VVSD's campus. The program will provide safe, low-barrier shelter as well as stabilization and supportive services to prepare veterans experiencing homelessness for the most appropriate longer-term or permanent housing intervention, contributing to the regional goals of ensuring instances of homelessness are rare, brief, and non-recurring. Referrals will be facilitated through the Coordinated Shelter Intake Program, which the Housing Commission administers, and the program supports the Community Action Plan on Homelessness for the City of San Diego. This comprehensive 10-year plan builds on recent progress and lays out short-term achievable goals, which could serve as a guide for long-term success in addressing homelessness. The program is in alignment with Housing First principles. The Veterans Interim Shelter Program will provide a housing-focused approach that aims to resolve programs' clients' homelessness as quickly as possible. Related services include determining diversion opportunities, self-sufficiency needs assessments, housing-focused case management, a good neighbor policy focused on engagement with the surrounding community, and access to on-site clinics and employment services.
Basic shelter services include but are not limited to appropriate 24-hour residential services and staffing, a minimum of 2 meals, although this program will offer 3 meals per day, showers, wash restrooms, hand washing stations, laundry facilities, storage for program client belongings, routine operating supplies, telephone access, messaging services, and mail service. Veterans Village of San Diego is a nonprofit organization dedicated to serving veterans and their families. For more than 40 years, the organization has provided thousands of veterans throughout the San Diego region with tailored supportive services, which includes transitional and permanent housing, clinical services, counseling, substance abuse treatment, employment services, educational opportunities, vocational training, transportation, food resources, and legal services. Since 2016, VVSD has maintained an agreement with the Housing Commission to serve veterans through the Housing Our Heroes initiative, which provides case management and supportive services to assist chronically homeless veterans obtain and maintain permanent housing. VVSD also operated the City of San Diego's Veterans Bridge Shelter program, which was located in the Midway community of Point Loma from December 2017 through April 2020, and subsequently at the San Diego Convention Center as part of Operation Shelter to Home. A non-competitive procurement process under Procurement Policy 9.4 was utilized to procure the City of San Diego Veterans Interim Shelter Program. The contract will leverage existing site resources controlled by Veterans Village of San Diego, as well as other cash and in-kind contributions to support these operations. A request for proposal process for this project would not have been viable, as the program utilizes a site that belongs to and is controlled by VVSD. As outlined in the table on the slide, funding for the initial operating term in fiscal year 25 totals $632,312, which includes $30,110 in Housing Commission administrative costs. The annual operating costs will be $1,083,962, which includes $51,617 in Housing Commission expense. Funding for the Veterans Interim Shelter in fiscal year 2025 is anticipated to be city general funds. Funds reappropriated by the City Council for the purpose of identifying new and replacement shelter beds will be applied toward the cost of the license agreement and MOU as noted in the staff report. Option years will be exercised contingent upon the availability of funding from the City of San Diego for that purpose. Housing Commission staff recommends that the Board of Commissioners take the actions detailed in the staff report and shown on the following slides. And that concludes our presentation.
Thank you both. Joy, we have one comment from Joy.
Thank you. Joyce Sunyata, District 3. This is 107, right? Okay. Take a deep breath here. It's been a long week. I have been busy. So, yes on this, of course. Father Joe is certainly in heaven watching all of this happen. And I had the honor to meet Father Joe a batch of years ago. What a legacy he has. Thank you so much, Father Joe. So San Diego is analogous with vets, and thank you for the presentation, and thank you everybody for all the work you do for caring and loving our vets. Love to all. Good meeting.
Thank you, Joy. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Do we have anybody here from VVSD that's relating to this? No? No. So basically, this is just a homeless shelter bed that they're going to be utilizing VVSD for, with Father Joe's running it. Correct?
It's two-part. So we're entering into a license agreement, an MOU, for 130 beds, which will be operated by Father Joe's Villages. It's actually the staff from Golden Hall will be coming over to operate that program. The second action is an operator agreement for 40-bed shelter for veterans at the same campus.
At the same campus. Okay. Yeah, I have a lot of history with VVSD.
Yeah.
So for myself to see, I mean, I'm all for this, using the facility for that, but to see that it's become a homeless shelter is sad, you know, from my standpoint, seeing what the program was before. And I'm all for helping, bringing other people in with the vacant space, but just to see that this VVSD is turned into this is not a pretty picture, as far as
So Commissioner Jackson, I will share, this is a pretty big campus, as you know, because you've seen it, can serve at least 364 individuals and probably significantly more. There are a number of veterans programs still continuing there. So by no means are we taking over the whole campus. This is less than half of their beds. And unfortunately, VBSD had lost some significant funding. So although this might not be a shelter bed forever, it was an opportunity where there was no funding available to VBSD. They needed some stabilization. We needed the beds. It was sort of an opportunity marriage, let's say, but I very much respect the need for veterans resources in this community. And I think an opportunity for us to come in and work with them helps them stabilize and gives them some time to find new funding opportunities as well. I hope we see it as a partnership. I do want to just take a moment while we're chatting and acknowledge Jeff Davis. We didn't always have the relationship with VBSD that we do today. Jeff has worked very hard over all the 7 years that I've been here, and I've worked along with him in some of those years to make sure that when we need to have tough conversations with our partners, we can, because it's a space of trust and mutual respect. And it's very unusual that sort of the challenges that VBSD has experienced and the challenges that we've experienced with trying to find quickly where Golden Hall beds can go, for something like this to come together as quickly as it did. And I'd just like to acknowledge Jeff, because I think a lot of that is down to his leadership over the years and really being very focused on building relationships with our providers. There was one time many years ago, and I hadn't been here very long, where it was a completely different provider. He just went, just go fix it. You got to fix it, because it was broken. And when we have that kind of trust and mutual respect, we can have hard conversations and we can work through tough things together. Casey and Jonathan have only picked up on that and are really leading in that space now. So I very much appreciate your concern. We have a very good relationship with their board chair and with their CEO, and we're here to work with them on what their next step and next phase of their campus looks like. Obviously, they have programs all over the county, but this isn't to take something away from them, but to mutually work on something together while they kind of figure out what's next for them and what their new opportunities are.
Thank you. And I understand that I'm all for using the additional space because I realize they have serious issues at that place.
Yeah, but appreciate those comments because our veterans need our help.
Any other questions? Yes.
What is semi-congregate? Excuse my ignorance, but
Sure. So the rooms, there's two different rooms that we're renting. There's full apartment units with full kitchens and bathrooms, basically two-bedroom apartments. So they still have a roommate, so that's why we call it semi-congregate, because they're not 100% by themselves. The other units are 4 to a unit, and they have their own private bath. So it's not like staying in a congregate shelter where you're one of 300, for example, in a large room. There is a lot more privacy.
Any other questions? No? Yeah, I think this is an amazing accomplishment in a short period of time under less than ideal circumstances all around. But one thing I want to add to the credit that was given to Jeff and obviously both of you who have been working on this, having the ability to look at existing resources and leverage them and optimize them is one of this agency's greatest assets. We are, and the city and the county and everybody are turning over every stone looking for ways to add capacity and service level. And the fact that we have a facility that can be optimized more. What has been the latest count on how many people were staying at Veterans Village?
Veterans Village?
You mean today before these folks come in?
Right.
Was it 100?
It's about 100.
About 100. And then once these agreements are fully in effect, how many people do we believe will be there?
270.
270.
340 is their full capacity.
That's fantastic. And this is without having to build anything, do any rehab work, turnkey ready.
No lawsuits.
No lawsuits. Yeah. So this is an area that we're not surprising any neighbors here. Everyone's been very aware of this facility for many years now. We don't have a long line of people to share their opinions with us this morning. So all around, this is just a fantastic solution, both for Veterans Village and the people that they serve, and for us and the city who have been trying to find solutions to our situation at Golden Hall. So thank you to all of you who worked on this the past few months and building those relationships for the past few years, Jeff. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Commissioner Jackson? Second, I'm going to give it to Keely.
You win.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And now Casey is done.
Have some water.
On to item 102. Our final item this morning is the execution of a purchase and sale agreement for the property at the corner of Nimitz and Famosa Boulevard. We will take public comments after the staff presentations. Vice President of Multifamily Housing Finance, Jennifer Kreuter, will present this item. Please begin when you're ready.
All right. Good morning, Vice Chair Klumpner and Commissioners. The item before you today is a request to approve the execution of a purchase and sale agreement, a PSA, for the property at the southeast corner of Nimitz and Famosa Boulevards. The City of San Diego sold the 5.6 acres of land at the southeast corner of Nimitz and Famosa Boulevards to the Housing Authority of the City of San Diego in 1981. The resolution representing the sale specified utilizing the site for low-income housing rental units. Of the 5.6 acres, 2.1 are wetlands and will be preserved. They will remain untouched. In 2019, the Housing Commission issued a request for proposal for the potential development and received 2 responses, one of which being from Bridge Housing. 2 years later, in 2021, the Housing Commission received Housing Authority approval to enter into an exclusive negotiating agreement, ENA, with Bridge Housing with the intention of executing a PSA as the next step, which brings us to today. Since entering into the ENA in 2021, the developer engaged a team of professionals to assist with developing a conceptual plan that best suits the location. Earlier this year, in spring 2024, the Housing Commission engaged a third-party appraiser to reappraise the land. The appraised value of $1,340,000 ties to the purchase price listed in the PSA. Both the PSA and appraisal are included as attachments to the board report. To provide a high-level overview of the project concept developed by Bridge Housing, it will consist of 3 buildings, each of which will be 3 stories high. There will be 72 affordable units and 1 unrestricted manager unit. The unit mix will consist of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units with income levels ranging from 30 to 80% of area median income. Should the PSA execution be approved today and by the Housing Authority next month, Bridge Housing will then begin the process to obtain all required environmental clearances. Once the process completes, the developer will then begin applying for funding. Once all financing is secured, Bridge Housing estimates beginning construction in 2027 and completing construction 18 months later. Here's a look at the prospective rent and income chart. The AMI levels will range from 30 to 80%. Using today's rent and income chart as a scale, rents would range from $852 to $3,031 per month. This slide shows current photos of the site. Here's a map of the site location. It's essentially a triangle at the southeast corner of Nimitz and Famosa Boulevards. Here's the architect's perspective view of the 3 buildings within that triangular shape. You'll see 2 buildings in the blue towards the bottom of the slide, and the 3rd building is shown on the right-hand side of the slide. Here's a snapshot of the anticipated site plan. Staff recommends that the board take the actions detailed in the staff report and shown on this slide. This concludes the presentation. Representatives from the developer and I are available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 2 public comments. We will begin with Joy.
You, Joy Senyata, District 3. I think this is, I wrote it down, I hope I got it right, Council District 2. Council District 2 has opened up their arms to housing, and I just wanted to thank them for that. They don't mind density either, so goody goody. This is a good one, 72 rental units, 30 to 80% AMI. I had a thought when I was looking at this, when you assign these units across that threshold of 30 to 80, I wonder how you decide, we'll take the ones that are 30%, we'll take the ones that are 50, we have 72 units. So I just wondered who gets to give those out. That's a big responsibility. So the Formosa and Nemitz Boulevard project is great. I did look at that timeline, 1981, and it's going to be probably open for business in 2029. If my math is right, I got 48 years. That's a long time. Now, I had kind of fun with the fact that this is a parcel of land. I've never owned land, but 5.81 acres. So what I did is some dividing. If you divide, I don't know why, I can't remember why I used 6, but if we divide 6 acres, I rounded it up to 6. 6 acres into the cost of the land, I got $23,000 per acre. I just kind of had fun with that. I just wanted to share you. And then I thought it was a good buy for bridge housing. I don't know for sure. I'm no pro on this at all. But then the other thing I did with the dividing, and then I'm done, I divided the number of units into the cost of the land, and I got that per unit, it was $18,600 per unit. For the land. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but I had fun with it, and I could get better at math than I am. So great meeting, and love to all.
Thank you very much, Joy. Our next speaker is Mary Jane, and I want to thank you for staying with us all morning. We had very good reasons for why we ordered this, but it was not lost on me that you've been patiently waiting to speak on this item.
Good morning, and thank you, Vice Chair, Commissioners, Ms. Jones, and staff. Thank you. I'm Mary Jane Jagodzinski. I'm Senior Vice President of Development with Bridge Housing. As you know, Bridge is a 41-year-old nonprofit founded in California. We work across the entire Pacific Coast today. My team is actually here today, and they're probably more the experts if you have questions. And so we have Jeff Williams, who's our Director of Development, and Chris Bloom, who's a senior, I just promoted him, a senior project manager. This is an important first step, and we look forward to working with you and moving this along so that we can actually provide some additional needed housing in a neighborhood that it would be a great benefit for the families living there. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Comments? No? Well, thank you very much. I, too, am looking forward to this. I remember when this first came up, and I know it's been slow going with the pandemic in the middle and all that. And as Joy pointed out, this property has been on the books for a long time, and I think it's great to see something happening with it. And the last time we were here, there was quite a line of speakers out the door that did not want to see this come forward. And I'm not going to go quite so far as to say that there's been a change in the opinion of some of the neighbors, but I am going to take a longer view on what has happened in this area And for those of you who aren't aware, there used to be a workforce housing, lower income housing neighborhood where the sports arena area now exists, which has almost no housing. And that was built in the midst of World War II and was leveled at the insistence of this neighborhood where this housing is going to be built now, because they wanted it to be an exclusive, segregated neighborhood that was not open to anybody from any race or lower incomes than the neighborhood was built for. And I'm not going to ascribe those motives to everybody who expressed concerns about this project in the past. I know that they have a wide array of reasons, but I think that the point remains that affordable housing being built in Point Loma is about more than just the very important act of providing housing for people who need that assistance. It is also about opening this city and its neighborhoods up so that people who live and work in our community can actually live closer to where they're working, that their children have opportunities to go to schools that they would otherwise not have an opportunity to go to. And so when I see a project like this in a location like this that has rooms, apartment homes that are being designated for families with children at a variety of AMIs, I think this is a fantastic step in the right direction, and we need many more of them. So thank you to Bridge Housing and the Housing Commission staff, Jennifer, and everybody who's been working on this. Do we have a motion? Commissioner Cushman, do we have a second? Commissioner Hubbard. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. This concludes the board's meeting today. If there's no other comments, the meeting is adjourned at 10:56 a.m. Thank you all for coming.